Hello, hello. Wow, this is gonna be hopefully not too long of a video, but this is gonna be a little bit of a different one. You guys, last week I went to see Dreamcatcher in Anime Matsuri here in Houston, Texas, and it was a mixture of positive and less positive experience, and I wanted to make a video about it, include some of the footage and just like share the experience with you guys. So let's get started. So I want to talk about like the positive stuff first, right? Dreamcatcher are amazing live. We've watched enough live stage performances to know this, and yeah, they're freaking good live, man. Those vocals, Shion. Unfortunately, the performance wasn't as long as Anime Matsuri advertised, but we'll talk about that again in a later point after we go through all of the positive stuff. They had amazing energy and they just interacted really well with the audience and engaged really well. My friend who went with me, he's never seen Dreamcatcher live. He doesn't really listen to K-pop, but he said that he thought they would focus more on choreography. But he was pleasantly surprised just to see them have fun and perform. And I think that's just like one of those special things that Dreamcatcher can do well, right? What makes them unique as performers and just a treat to watch live. So I definitely recommend, if you guys have opportunity to see Dreamcatcher, to go see them. Another thing is that it was really cool to get something signed. During the event, they offered basically to get some signatures from Dreamcatcher. This is one of those things that's sort of like a rare opportunity, and at the time they basically said like you can get any personal item signed by Dreamcatcher. Again, there was some issue with this thing, which we'll talk about more in detail after we go through all of the nice stuff, but it was cool to get something signed. I just happened to bring the ticket for their mini online concert with me, not knowing that it would be something that I'll be using for later, and now it's like one of the most precious things I own right now, so I'm very happy about that. And the final positive thing is that the volunteer staff at Anime Matsuri are amazing. I think they're super nice and super patient. Every time I went to the booths, they're super nice and super sweet and helpful. Unfortunately, there were so many issues in terms of like the Dreamcatcher stuff that they had to be super apologetic about it, but it was not their fault, and you know, I hope they didn't have too much of a bad time dealing with people and having to like let down some of the people and disappoint them. All right, so now we've gone through the positive stuff, we're gonna move on to the less positive stuff. I did write a script for this video just because I wanted to hit like all of the main points that I was thinking of, and the ratio of like the positive and the less positive stuff is not equal at all. It's like this is the longest part of the script, so I'm gonna be looking this way sometimes just to look at the points and make sure I'm getting everything right. So some people might have already read about this online, but I wanted to give an account, you know, from my perspective as an attendee. The first main issue that we had at Anime Matsuri was the badges. You had to buy a ticket to the event to go to the concert and get guaranteed entry. If you have a 4-day badge, which is, you know, the badge for the whole four days of the con, you can get entry as well, but it's last priority. So a lot of people brought tickets because honestly, a lot of people went just for Dreamcatcher, and I'm saying that because I asked people what they were there for. Some people traveled from different states just for this event, just for Dreamcatcher. And in order to get in, you needed to buy the 4-day pass as well. They sell individual day passes, but it just happened that they didn't sell individual day pass for Thursday, which is the day that Dreamcatcher were performing. And so the VIP and Ultra VIP package, they're not cheap. They're actually quite expensive, so it makes no sense that someone had to buy a ticket and then also a badge on top of it. But that's just my personal opinion, which I hope you guys share as well, because it's ridiculous. It just hurts me to think that people pay that much, and a lot of the things that they promised with those packages, they didn't really come through with it. Oh my god, Anime Matsuri. To me, it just came off like as a blatant way to like try to milk more money out of the fans. You know, if there is a logical explanation as to why that system was put into place, I'm all ears. You guys can write it down. If anyone from Anime Matsuri is watching this, you guys can explain it, I'm all ears. Please explain it to me. And again, considering the fact that some people traveled from out of state, you know, had to book flights and had to book their accommodation on top of having to buy a 4-day pass, is just ridiculous. It feels like daylight robbery, to be honest. Another thing about the badge is that they said that they were gonna give these like Dreamcatcher badge, which is like for VIPs and ultra VIPs. They can be picked up on Thursday at the Dreamcatcher booth. When we went on Thursday, it wasn't ready yet. They're like, all right, come back tomorrow, it's going to be available then. It wasn't available on Friday either. It wasn't available on Saturday or Sunday either. So basically, it wasn't available, period. It's gone now, I guess, because some people traveled from different states. They're not going to be able to pick it up, and I have no idea what's going on. Maybe somewhere they've got the stash of these special Dreamcatcher badge that is never going to see the light of day because it was super delayed. The second main issue was that the concert was cut short. It was supposed to be around an hour and a half. I guess realistically with events like this or concerts, you know, they can say it's 2 hours or something like that, but you know, you need to have some plus or minus time for either the encore, getting set up, and then having people leave the venue. That makes sense, but they changed the little timestamp from an hour and a half to an hour on the day of the concert in the announcements. There were still people lining up for ages, and overall the concert itself lasted for about 40 minutes, which is that's less than half of the original allotted time. And at the end of the concert, when Dreamcatcher walked off the stage, this guy came out, right? This strange man. I'm sure he's involved in Anime Matsuri in some major way. He came out and he was like, oh, did you guys enjoy the concert? What did you think? Do you want them to come back? This is sort of the question that makes people think that there's going to be an encore. But no, there was no encore. He was just like, all right, you guys have to leave now because we're setting up for the next thing, even though it's still like 20 minutes before the allotted time is finished. It just makes me laugh thinking about it, because it felt like, you know, when you go to like your cousin's birthday party and like your uncle is hosting. It just felt like that. I've never been to a concert where just a stranger came out and started like hosting randomly. All right, so the next thing I'm going to be talking about is the merch. Oh my god, this is such a hot topic online. If you guys have seen the tweets, yeah, there were some scalpers on the event, unfortunately. The merch booth opened on Friday, I believe. It was the day after the concert, and I figured, you know, I can come around later after the panel and pick up some stuff. That's kind of my fault, because I ended up like struggling to find parking, and I got to the panel like 5 minutes before it was supposed to start. But it was still fine because people were still lining up for like another half an hour anyways. So I didn't have a chance to like check out the booth as soon as it opened. They had like a couple of interesting things, right? They had this hat, some shirts, and the photo cards. If you're watching this video and you're a K-pop fan, you understand photo cards, right? They're like a currency in the K-pop world. For a limited event like this, exclusive photo card sets are like hot potatoes. I would say that they're quite precious, and they're absolutely sought after. So I figured it'd be hard to get like a full set. Especially since I came in so late. I thought I'd pick up like 1 or 2 photo cards, maybe the hat. I really wanted, like, of course, a GU photo card because she's my bias, and then I'll be fine. Well, folks, there was no GU photo card. In fact, there were no photo cards at all when I got there, because they didn't limit how many things people can buy. They had no limit to how many photo cards people were able to buy. And there's this natural human tendency, I think it's called greed. If an opportunity like this can be exploited for a rare item, then yes, 1 or 2 people will take advantage of this. And unfortunately, that was the case. And yes, it is morally questionable to buy out most of the stock when there's obviously a line of other fans behind you waiting for those items. But it's fair to blame the organizer for the event as well, because they didn't enforce the limit into how many photo cards people were able to buy. and they went through the transaction without questioning whether it's right to do so, especially if you're looking at a line of people waiting to buy the item that you're selling out to one person. Is that right? I don't think so. So the final thing I want to talk about is just the general issues I had with the event. There was a lack of organization and lack of communication. I'm not counting Dreamcatcher not taking the VVIP photos as a negative, because I think it's completely understandable from my point of view. Safety is more important than the photos, and I understand that they want to be safe and they want to protect themselves and their fans as well. But my main issue is the fact that the organizers of this event are not organized at all. The main communication for the last minute location changes and the last minute time changes, which both happened just with this event that I went to. I don't even know what's happening with the other things happening in that convention. It was all communicated through the Anime Matsuri app. And not everyone really knew about the app. You can program an auto tweet or a Facebook group announcement to ensure that most people will get these messages, because not everyone did. And even so, announcements of these last minute changes were so last minute. Like, I remember it's within an hour of the event, some of the announcements. And I was driving to the event and I was getting the Anime Matsuri app announcements about like location changes and time changes. And that's so in terms of the lack of communication, this is a really big one. I understand that running a big event or convention, it's a lot of work and things can go wrong, or there can just be changes. But there were so many things that they didn't communicate, and it ultimately ruined a lot of people's experiences. A big thing was the autographs, which I mentioned before. Before the event, they said that they'll provide posters, which will get signed, which is really cool. I think that's a nice thing to have, right? Especially with the amount of money that some people have paid for this thing. But while we were lining up for the autograph, it wasn't even announced. It was like this information that rippled down the line that, hey, like there's nothing. You gotta pick a random item of yours to sign. And some people were smart enough to just like randomly bring albums, but not everyone did, man. Again, this is a really cool opportunity, and I'm sure people have items, that they could have brought from home, especially like big Dreamcatcher fans. You always have that like piece of merch that's important to you and would be amazing to get signed, but they didn't get to bring these things, and they just ended up bringing like random banners from the concert, tote bags, giant foam swords getting signed. I mean, the sword thing is pretty cool, but it's still sucky for the organizer to fail to communicate this important piece of information, and a lot of people were super distressed in the line. That's really horrible. And going back to the lack of communication, there was also a lack of communication to the artists. A lot of the excuses that were being made by the organizer comes with the little asterisk, with the little caveat that it's per Dreamcatcher's request, or Dreamcatcher didn't even want to do this. You guys should be thankful. I convinced them. Let me just say this: if you're inviting an artist over and you're aware of most of the circumstances or the current circumstance that's happening right now in the world, you can communicate about little details more than an hour before the event to make sure that the terms are clear and to make sure that they're comfortable with the current terms. Initially, I wasn't going to make this type of video because overall I think it was an awesome opportunity to see Dreamcatcher. I feel like I had mostly a positive experience, but the narrative that they're using, especially with the post-concert announcements, which is essentially putting most of the blame on Dreamcatcher and their team and taking no responsibility as the event organizer, it grinded my gears a lot. And I think it's just disappointing, especially as a person who lives in Houston, for this local event to handle something so poorly and to handle an artist that they invited over and try to blame most of it on them. That's ridiculous. But overall, I do think it's still an awesome experience. I'm glad to have seen them live at least once in my life because I fucking love Dreamcatcher, man. But the positives were predominantly because of my love for Dreamcatcher in the first place as a group. I'm glad they're able to travel all the way here to perform for Insomnia, and I'm really sorry to the fans who were let down by Anime Matsuri, and I'd love for them to come back again, you know, here to Texas and have their own show with a full set, because I'm convinced they can easily sell out a venue without a separate organizer like Anime Matsuri, which unfortunately dropped the ball in this case. Anyways, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry I got a little bit negative there, but I did want to like be honest about this experience. I just wanted to let it out because I had a lot I was holding inside. I was holding this pain. I'm sorry. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.
I guess you just got to